Welcome to Fired Up. I am your host, Tammy Schaefer Scheich. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope that the topics we discuss can make you fired up. Hello. Today we are going to be speaking with Haley. Haley, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Haley Thompson. I am the owner of Old to New Fine Finishes. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Tyler, and we have 5 beautiful kids together.
And they are beautiful. I can attest to that.
Thank
So
you.
what would you like to talk about today?
Well, I would love to talk about back to the 5 kid reference. I have been pregnant for about 7 years now, if you do the math. So for 7 years, I've been back to back with pregnancies. And I feel like I've kind of lost myself in the way of that because it's been motherhood, running a business, and wearing so many hats that I feel like I've lost my sense of self. And I'm trying to dig myself out of the postpartum trenches and find myself again. So I'm wanting some tips, tricks, some advice on how we can, navigate the waters of finding myself again outside of motherhood and being a wife and a business owner and just finding myself.
Love that. So, what's interesting is from the outside looking in with
Hmm.
you, everything looks perfect, right? Beautiful,
That's what
beautiful
everyone always
woman,
says.
beautiful woman, beautiful
Thank you.
husband, beautiful family. And so, I think this is super honest
Yes.
that, hi, everything is great. However, I know that it can be greater. And that's basically
Yes.
what you're saying to us, right?
Yes. That everything could look picture perfect when you make a post or you see a video or you're just talking in conversation. You could say, see me with the kids and say, oh my gosh, you do it so effortlessly. But I do it every day. So, of course, it's going to look like that to you when you're not doing it. See what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
but there's 10 things going on that I have to deal with as soon as I open my eyes and I forget, that there's also me, here. I'm here too because I'm so focused on being everything to everyone all of the time.
So that's kind of is that kind of the issue? Being
Yes.
being
Yeah.
everything to everyone. So the truth is, you do. Having had a look at your world,
Hmm.
I know that you do everything beautifully. However, I know that you're also kind of hard on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
100%.
in being hard on ourselves, then trying to be everything to everybody is kind of setting a bar that
That
I'm
you
not going to
can't.
say
Yeah.
it's unattainable. I'm going to say it'd be very difficult. How's that?
Yes. To where it makes you feel like at the end of the day, like, oh, there's so much more I could have done.
Correct. And so, but that's what I'm trying to say to you is, are you not setting that bar like so high that not that it's not attainable, but is it useful? It would be my question. So at the end of the day, you talked about the
Hmm.
end of the day. So at the end of the day, if you go through your mental list and you say, I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich instead of a 5 course meal,
Hmm.
did the children really suffer?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that those are the games we play with in our head, right? We set almost unattainable goals for ourselves, and then we're so hard on ourselves
Hmm.
when we didn't do that. So let's go back to logic. So finding yourself, I know that you have in looking at yourself,
Hmm.
what have you done after this pregnancy differently? Have there been things that you've done differently this time?
Oh, 100%. And I think it's also because I know that it's my last baby. So I know that, the pregnancy and all of that, that's never happening again. So I've come to terms with that and I've thought about all of the things that I want to do for myself that I've never done before. I've never had a solid workout routine because as soon as I would be done with the postpartum, I'd find out I was pregnant again. So it was a constant cycle of pregnancy basically. So I started giving myself, maybe 15, 20 minutes in the morning. A nurse actually told me after I had Evie, she said, if there's one piece of advice I could give you, it's put yourself first, even if it's 10 minutes in the morning. Put on some mascara, put on some, bronzer, whatever, and just if you look alive, you'll feel alive,
All
basically.
fair. All
And
fair.
if you feel good, you will do good things. So I started doing that. I started a workout routine that I've been consecutive with started eating healthier, and just providing myself more me time. Even if it's just 30 minutes at the end of the day or 30 minutes in the morning or midday in the office, just giving myself 30 minutes to just think for myself, not think about anyone else, and just focus on that.
So one of the things that you and I have talked about is kind of that idea of putting your oxygen mask on yourself, right?
Yes.
The theory is, generally speaking, as a mom, as a business owner,
Mhm.
as all of the hats that you wear, that if you're doing something for yourself, you're taking away from another human, when the absolute opposite is the truth. When you
Yes.
take that time and you take that 30 minutes to collect yourself,
Mhm.
have you found that you felt better as you started your day?
100%.
And so all we're doing then is kind of elongating that 30 minutes into different sections of your day, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so you've talked about working out. So, and you've made time for that. Do you feel that your children have suffered because you have worked out?
No, I think that they actually see a difference because I'm more, energetic and I can move more than, say a year ago. I've always been pregnant, honestly. Like, if you think about it, Emberly's only ever seen me either just having a baby or having a baby bump. So I've been kind of restricted on what I can and can't do.
Sure.
So now it's like, oh, mommy can play and we can do all of these things and not have to worry about what we were in the past.
Sure.
So,
So it seems like you've checked all the boxes. You're doing all the things well and
mhm,
beautifully. So what else is there? So we've got time for ourselves. That's
mhm,
great. We've got working out. That's great.
yeah,
We've got eating healthy. That's great.
yeah,
So what else? If you could, we're not ignoring the family. We're not
mhm,
ignoring the husband. We're not ignoring the business. We're not ignoring the children. But if we could put those just aside, we know they're safe. We know they're good. We
mhm.
know they're flourishing. But if we could set them aside and Haley could do anything she wanted, what would Haley do?
Well, that's actually what I've been in the process of starting is I want to do something for myself that I can kind of brand with that meets my ideas and my goals for myself. So like I said, my business that we run is with my husband and I. So I since we started in 2017, it's always been him and I. And I don't feel like I have a separation from that. That's kind of what it is. That's what it has been. It's him and I as a pair.
Sure.
I don't have anything that's for myself. So that's why I've been thinking about things that I could do that's just for me. We started a podcast and it was him and I. And then I came to the realization that, again, I'm opening up another door where it's something we're doing together again
Sure.
and not for myself. Like I don't have an identity outside of that. And that's what I'm trying to start now with forming a podcast by myself.
Love that. So, what's interesting about your whole concept is so backed up by
Hmm.
real life because
Yes.
if in a relationship, and every relationship is different, and I'm not suggesting that I know everything about everybody because obviously I don't,
Yeah.
but in a relationship, if you have the same experiences all day long,
Exactly. It's not new. It's not fresh.
so your conversation is, yeah, no, that cabinet looked great, and
Yes.
so this gives you a new thing to add to
Exactly.
the relationship.
Well, more creativity
Sure.
because I have so many ideas and it's like we're constantly just in the mix of, our business and the kids and there's no sense of, well, what did Haley accomplish today for herself?
And so that's a bar you're setting that you want to set, right?
Exactly.
So what does that look like? So maybe a new podcast you mentioned.
Yes.
Um, Tell me about, so in talking about new ideas for you, so talk about how you feel. So just had how the baby was
She's
born.
3 months.
Okay, so a day and a half ago. I mean,
Yeah.
she's still a little bitty thing.
Exactly. And that's what I know that it sounds like it's rushed almost, like I'm not giving myself time to breathe, but I feel like that's when I got stuck the past times as I kind of just fell into the trenches and just thought, well, this is just normal and I'm recovering from having a baby and it kind of stopped me from, I think, the things I really wanted to do because I was so tied up with, oh, I can't leave the newborn and she can't be without me for longer than 2 hours, which is unrealistic. And then I think I fell into that a mom has to be here 24/7 or I'm failing. And I've realized now that that's not the case. They're going to be okay with dad or whoever is taking care of them. So I can show up for them if I'm doing things for myself.
And so is that changed the way you interact with them? I mean, do you feel better about yourself in all
Yes.
of those interactions?
And I don't feel as overstimulated. And I think that was one of my biggest issues too is I'm constantly on the go. I mean, I have a million things to do throughout the day. The overstimulation is constant. The anxiety of I have to be here, I have to be there, someone needs this, someone needs that. And it's just like I think I've come to the realization that if I just take the time to kind of set up a schedule and include myself in the schedule, that it's not as chaotic, it's not as overstimulated. If something goes wrong, I'm not going to, freak out over that, or it's not going to ruin my day.
Perfect. So you said something interesting to me. You said may seem that I've rushed this. To who would be my question. Like,
Well, that's another thing. I think society puts on women, especially and moms, I think it kind of puts us in a box almost of like, you had the baby, so like this is your job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you have to do 24/7, like, no sense of self almost. And with social media, you see all of these crazy, you know, expectations of moms and mom guilt and well this mom does this and this mom does that
sure.
and it kind of just puts us, like I always tell Tyler, you almost feel like you're in a box.
Sure. But then my question to you would be, can we cut a hole in the box?
Hmm.
Because that seems really simple to say, right? Like that
Yeah.
seems very, well, sure, cut a hole in the box. Except that's that internal setting bars, right?
Yeah.
That it is that I need to do this and I need to do that. And then you've made that list and then you see something on social media where some mother has constructed a circus in their backyard and they
Yeah.
have real elephants and then you're
Exactly.
just
And
like,
it makes you have self-doubt almost. You're like, am I not, like, how can she do all of that? And I think sometimes people see that with me too, with having 5 kids and a business and I hate that. Like I hate that people see that and maybe they say, "Oh, well, Haley does it so effortlessly and it's so easy." But I'm like trying to say it's not. Like I struggle a lot with balancing all of this because it's really hard. And I'm also balancing clientele as well
sure.
and dealing with the public.
Because you've got a full-time job going on in addition to the
Exactly.
full-time job, in addition to the whole full-time Haley
Yes,
job, right?
exactly. And being a wife and a friend and trying to show up for people. And it's just all of the time.
So let's back up. So mom guilt, hello,
Ugh, yeah,
if there's that is something that many people that resonates with them, right?
exactly.
And
Yes.
so the only way to help with that, I'm not
Mhm.
going to say it goes away, but to help with that is to constantly reinforce with yourself, like, look at those children. You talked about the going to the zoo. Look at those children. Look at those smiles on their faces. If
Yes.
you doubt
Yep.
yourself, take a look at your children because
Yeah.
they are your logic barometer, right?
Hmm.
You can look at them, your children. You know immediately when you look at them if there's something wrong, if
Yep.
they're unhappy, if they're hungry, if they're sleepy dopey doc, like whatever it is, you know immediately when you look at them. And
Yep.
when you look at those beautiful children and you see that they're thriving, because I believe they are, would you not
Yes.
admit that to me?
Yes, they are.
Then I would ask that that be your barometer of taking that mom guilt down a little bit.
I love that.
Being able to say, okay, yep, she's got a circus and she's got 25 elephants, and I
Yeah.
can't even imagine 25 elephants, but then look over at those kids. And when you see that they're thriving in your own environment, then perhaps it can take a little bit of that. I think it's an impulse. I don't think you're
100%.
doing it to yourself. I
No,
think it's our impulse. Like, oh, did I miss something? Like, is there something else my kid needs? Get out of my
exactly.
way. I'm going to get it for them.
Yeah.
But what we actually know is if we dial it back a little bit, that they're okay, right? Like
Hmm.
the things that we do the things they need,
Yep.
we do the things they want, and we do the things that we want to do for them, right? Like it's kind of three categories.
Yep.
There are needs that we always, and like that's where you look at them and
Hmm.
say that they're thriving. And you will know that because when you look at your child and they are in that place, that's where you take that breath and say, okay, so they are doing great as tiny humans.
Hmm.
Now, what do they want in addition to their needs? And we'll
Yep.
hit some of those. But I think that that's where you can kind of have that conversation with yourself of, yes, I can buy them a pony, but do they really need a pony? And
Yeah.
will that make their life better? And so when you start doing that for yourself as well, you can say that circus was lovely and I'm so glad my children got to attend it, but I
Hmm.
don't want to have to deal with feeding elephants, right? Like,
Right.
and so
Right.
if you can start kind of talking yourself through, because mom guilt's a real thing. Like that's
Yes.
not, and here's the bad news: it's not going to go away,
No.
but we just have to kind of contain it
Exactly.
and see how we can discuss it in a way that we can kind of pat ourselves on the back occasionally. When you look
Hmm.
at those children and they're happy and they're smiling and they're laughing and they're having a good time, that's your moment of being able to go,
Yeah.
okay, so in doing the things that you're doing for you, I still want to get back to, like you talked about, whether it's a podcast or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and you talked about the few minutes that you take on your own every day.
Yeah.
What if 5 minutes of that, whether that is right before you go to bed, whether it is
Hmm.
that first thing in the morning when you're putting mascara and bronzer on and looking so beautiful, like what would happen if you let your mind wander on if Haley could do anything? What would Haley do? I said that to a client not too long ago, and they looked at me and said, I don't even think I've ever asked myself that question
No.
because you don't
You don't. Yeah, you
because you're
just
so
go through the
busy. Right.
motions day by day, and it just doesn't feel like reality almost. Like
Well,
it's
and it
just
almost feels like selfish, right? Like
yeah,
I've got to get the kids and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And I'm going to spend time thinking about what I want. That doesn't even seem like it makes sense,
exactly.
except it does. Because
Oh,
for the
yeah.
same reasons that you're enjoying the children, that you're enjoying working out and you're seeing the benefits of that with the children,
Hmm.
for the same reason, it will also help you if you can just brainstorm. And it doesn't take the children out of your life, right?
No,
I'm not saying that.
exactly.
But I am saying that kind of taking that in your head and being able to say, okay, if I could do anything, what would it be? And it's not an
I
answer
know.
that I need from you
I
today,
know. When you said that, my mind just it almost went blank because I'm like, what would I do?
right? Because we never think about it, right? We
Exactly.
don't allow it. So,
It's always, oh, when the kids are 18 or when they're in school, when they're all in school, I'll be able to do all of these things. Well, what would I do?
right. But I think the answer is closer than 18 years. Like I truly believe the
I
answer
think
for
so
you
too. If
is
I continue to do these things and put myself first, even like you said, if it's for 30 minutes a day.
right. And what could the other interesting thing about like on that path for you is what could you once you figure it out like and
Hmm.
it should be like three or four things. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be this is it, I'm sure of it. But if you let your mind wander to, ooh, I really like this. This is fun. And um, and I'm just spitballing here. So because of your business and
Hmm.
because you are in so much ensconced in social media with the business and with your family and with all the things like that we use the term influencer. So, and we talked earlier about clothing. So, are you going to tell me that people wouldn't die to know where'd she get that? That's so cool. That
Hmm.
sweater's so beautiful. She looks so great in that. So, expanding your reach in fun ways, maybe
Exactly.
something that you like. I'm not
No, I
suggesting you
love
have
that.
to do
Yeah,
that,
I love that.
but you know that somebody's going to take a look at you today and say, she looks like that chick's got it all together.
Yeah.
Like, I would kill to have that sweater or whatever it is.
Well, and I think honestly, just being open and honest as well about the struggles that I've had
Mhm.
taken to social media, I think that also will influence people to be like, okay, she doesn't have it all together. Like, even though it looks like it, like I'm struggling to, like I could struggle and you might not notice it, but like I would be here for you if you need me to. You know what I'm saying? Like we can relate to more than what people think
I do,
just by what I'm posting.
but I also think you're hard on yourself. So I'm
Yeah.
going to stay in that lane.
Yes.
I think it's great to be able to say, look at smoke and mirrors. There's a lot going on that you
Yeah.
don't see, which is what you're saying. But
Yeah.
I also think sometimes in those moments you don't give yourself credit because what we are seeing are healthy, happy children,
Mhm.
a lovely marriage, a lovely business. So we can always pick ourselves apart,
Yeah.
right? So, the makeup didn't go on right today and I
Mhm.
spilled something, and like we can all share those stories.
Yeah.
But overall, I think you really are killing it. And I think that you could give yourself credit for that a little bit. I think that you try to bring it down to a different level, and I don't know that you need to.
Like, I think you almost feel as if you're bragging though. If do you see what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
I hear
I
you.
don't want people to think, oh, she's posting this and it's just a way, like a bragging rights. Like, I
Well,
don't want that either.
okay,
You know what
but
I'm saying?
okay,
And people, you know how people
I
are with
do.
social media.
I
They
do.
take one post or one saying and they're like they flip it and it looks different to them than what
Sure.
it would to me.
Sure, but here's what I'm going to say to you. Who cares?
True.
I mean, that's what I'm
True.
going to
I
say to
mean,
you,
that is true.
because that's absolutely, you are 100%
Mhm.
right. No matter what I write down, if I put something on social media, someone's going to
Pick it
have
apart.
something else to say about it,
Exactly.
right? And so sometimes that's interesting to me. Like sometimes what they write is super interesting. Like
Mhm.
they've gone a different journey that I ever even anticipated. So I find that sometimes interesting,
Mhm.
but I don't know that it's ever interesting enough for me to throw out my own thoughts on it.
Mhm.
So what I would suggest is a little bug. What I would suggest is you. I want you to hear how amazing you are, because you are,
Thank you. Thank you.
and I don't know that you ever need to. I'm using a terrible phrase. You're going to have to love me and forgive me for it. I don't know that you ever need to dumb anything down, because I think that you're working so hard,
Mhm.
and I think that it's all how it's presented. So when we talk about bragging, right? If I go on social media and I say my perfect life with my perfect,
Exactly.
2.4 children and my off, like
Yeah.
if I label it that way, you're right. I think me as a human, when I read it, I roll my eyes because I'm really
Yeah.
good at rolling my eyes. So I do that a lot. Like
Yeah. And
that's
then
kind
they
of my thing.
compare.
Absolutely. But if they're going to compare, they're going to compare, right? You can't do
True.
anything about that.
Exactly.
And so, what I'm suggesting is, as much of your life as you want to
Mhm.
share it in a way that if it's me and I look at it and I want to resonate with it and say, "Yep, me too,"
Yep.
then I can do that. But if I also want to play Cruella de Vil and I want to look at it and say mean things, you know what? That's not going to change. When you look at those babies and you put them to bed tonight, it's
Mhm.
not going to change that. And they
That's
don't have
true.
that.
I like that.
They don't have that ability to change that world that you have. So they will have something to say.
Mhm.
The world has something to say about everything that we do. And sometimes it's a wonderful thing, and sometimes maybe we don't need it. But if you can get to a point where you say, "I got this," because you've said that to me. Like
Yeah.
you've said, "No, no, no, I've got this." And I've watched you, and you are juggling all the things, and
Mhm.
you're doing that beautifully.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I come into you and I say, "Oh, yeah, no, I think you should have cut the crust off of that bread."
Mhm.
So, who am I?
Yeah.
Nobody. So my magic for you would be, I want you to think more about what you need,
Mhm.
what your family needs, what you want for you and what you want for your family, and less about the peanut gallery that's always going to be negative, because
True.
that's the truth of the situation. And at the end of the day, they don't get a vote.
Yeah, you always say that. I love that.
I, and it's absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Like I have an adult daughter, and
Mhm.
I no longer get a vote in her life. Now I'll always have an opinion,
Exactly. Yeah.
and when she asks,
You're gonna give it to her.
that happens.
Yeah.
But I no longer get a vote, and I don't get a vote in anybody else's world. And I think that if we allow people to think they have a vote,
Mhm.
maybe they share more than really what we need for them to share.
Right. I love that perspective because I never would have thought that. We don't think that in the moment.
No, because we are trying to be good humans,
Mhm.
and we are trying to please, because maybe there's a little people pleasing tendency
Yes.
there, just
Yeah. A
a little
little bit.
bit, right?
We're working on it.
Just a
It's
little
a
bit.
work in
But
progress.
but it doesn't make it bad,
No.
right? Like it's wonderful thing about you. However, where is that line, right? That crosses
Exactly.
and becomes, now I'm trying so hard to please X that
Yeah.
now I'm not paying attention to this, and
Mhm.
this is important to me. So that line
Yeah.
becomes becomes where you
Finding
have to
balance.
correct. And boundaries,
Yeah.
like we've talked about
Balance,
boundaries.
boundaries, all
Yep.
of it.
All of those
And
same
it's
things.
always going to be, that's why I told Tyler the other day, I said, it's always a work in progress.
100%.
Things that might have bothered me a month ago don't bother me now, work in progress.
100%.
So
100%. And so maybe that becomes then, maybe a piece of homework becomes at the end of the day, like at the end of the day is my kind of I figure out where I've been, right? Like where did
exactly.
this day take me?
Exactly.
And I made it through because I'm here, right? Like
Yep.
at the end of the day, I've made it through. And so then, and one of the deals that I made with myself is whatever has been toxic in my day, because unfortunately there are toxic things in our day.
Always.
I may have to work on something about that the next day, but I don't have to take it with me, right?
I
Like
love
I
that.
can say, yeah, that didn't work. That was a hot mess.
Exactly.
And I know that I've got to do something to fix that, but I'm not going to bring all of the negativity that I felt in that moment with me when I fix it. Do you hear
I
that?
love
Like, do you hear
that.
the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I
So
love
I may
that.
still have to deal with something, but the way it made me feel, the weight that it gave me,
I'm not going to let it hold.
I'm not going to let that.
Yep.
I'm not going to walk heavy into that next day. And
I
if at
love
the end
that.
of the day, you can take a look at family, you, business, and say, look, we're here. We got through
Yep.
another day. And then as humans, we focus on what the negative is. I do,
I do
right?
too.
Like I could do 100 things. And if one of them was crud,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm on
Exactly.
that.
I give myself no credit.
Right. And so what I ask all of us to do
Mhm.
is to lessen that. We can take that mental inventory and say, yeah, that one thing that I missed, yeah, I really don't like that I missed that.
Yep.
And I'm probably going to work so I don't miss that again. But look at those 4 things that I did. Like
Exactly. The accomplishments.
right.
Yeah.
And so if I start thinking about the positives rather than the negatives,
Mhm.
it doesn't, for me, I'm not going to tell you the negatives are going to go away because they haven't for
Yeah,
me.
they won't.
But I am going to tell you that they're not as loud.
I love that.
And so if they're not screaming at me, as
Exactly.
sometimes they do,
Mhm.
then I can turn my head 2 inches and take a look over here and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, that was pretty cool. I like
Yep.
that part.
I love that. Yeah.
So 2 pieces of homework.
Yes.
One is, so I ask of you to spend whatever that is. It could be 5 or 10 minutes, but just think about if there were no boundaries, if there were nothing on your plate that to hold you back, what would Haley do? But it has to be just Haley. It has to not
Yes.
factor in. Now, we can do that. I mean, if Haley's going to take a cross-country trip today and leave family and friends and business, then maybe we talk about that,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe today's not the day for that.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it can't happen.
Mhm.
But it's that kind of thing where if there were no boundaries, if there were nothing holding you back, what would you do? And then let's figure out how to get it done.
I
Because
love that.
most of
Yes.
the things that you will want
Mhm.
will already be factored into the people you love. Like, I don't
Yes.
think you're going to go rogue here and, pack a bag like a
Yeah.
kid and say they're running away from life.
No,
I
definitely not.
think you're going to be able to accomplish. I would put,
Easily attainable.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would put frozen Coke money on this. Like, this is going to happen for you.
I love that.
That's
Yes.
one. And number 2 would be in those moments when you are either comparing or a little bit hard on yourself in that people pleasing, yeah, but what are they doing? I
Mhm.
would like for you to hear the words, Haley's a badass.
Got the
And
bracelet to prove
got the
it.
bracelet to prove it. And let's make their voices softer and
Yep.
remember that they don't get a vote.
I love that. Yes.
Is that doable?
100%.
Does that feel like maybe it'll give you something to work on in a positive way?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Good.
I love that.
Well, mom guilt, setting boundaries, hard on ourselves. I think so many of those things we can all think about and have been there and raise our hand and say, yeah, me too. So these are ways that we can work on those things together. I hope this has helped. I hope you leave today fired up, and thank you so much.